Welcome everyone to our first real episode of the All Mountain podcast. Today we have Mike, Arapahoe Basin Sustainability Director, joining us for an interview later in the podcast. But right now, Ingrid and I are going to catch up for a few minutes and talk about what we've been doing. I finally got on the slopes. I've got 5 days in already, although the slopes, I think, is a relative term at this point. It's white ribbon of death right now. What have you been up to, Ingrid?
Well, I can't say I've been skiing. It's been raining here, which is kind of depressing, but also like it's fall, it's November. I still have a bunch of ducks to get in a row before winter starts. Don't tell anyone. It can start snowing anytime. I'll be ready to go skiing. But yeah, it's been raining here. So I've been a lot of busy with getting winter plans going and kid stuff and family stuff. Yeah.
That's great. So have you seen any ski movies yet?
I haven't seen any of the new crop, I'm embarrassed to say, but I did watch Butterfly in a Blizzard. Have you heard about this movie?
I have. Kimi Fasani?
Yeah, have you seen it?
I have not. It's on my list, actually. Where do I watch it?
You can watch it for free on YouTube, I've been told. You have to watch some commercials. I got to see it at our local, we have an amazing consignment shop here, like outdoor gear consignment, Colchuck Consignment, and they put on a viewing of it. But you can also stream it on, you can pay to stream it, pay to rent it. Give Kimmy some love. The movie is
Yeah.
so difficult and powerful and beautiful and just an incredibly done movie. Like the footage that they have, because I think basically the way I understand it is they're making a movie about her return to snowboarding after motherhood. And then a whole bunch of other life things happened. So they're kind of had
Right.
all amazing footage, really intimate, really vulnerable footage of their family, just going through a lot of stuff. And for me, it hit home so much for, coming back to professional skiing as a mom. And just I could identify so much with how hard it is to leave your little baby and go out skiing. And everyone's like, just do it. Who cares? And you're like, but I feel like I have all society's pressures and all this biology, thousands of years in me that's telling me not to leave my baby right now. And so, yeah, kind of yeah, just a complex question. I don't think anyone had answers, but the movie did a really good job of delving into that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've heard good things. I'm gonna watch it here soon. I went to see the new Matchstick movie in the theater in Breckenridge, which was really cool. And I believe it has one of the best opening sequences I have seen in a ski movie in a long time. Just the location, the snow, and the music combo were hit home perfectly for me. So, and you will appreciate it too, because you and I were in this location earlier this year, and so I don't want
Uh,
to spoil it for anyone, but
okay.
very very close to where, not the exact spot we were, but very close. The music selection, which is kind of funny because I've seen this song now pop since I've seen this movie, which was last month.
Mhm.
Um, I've seen this song pop up on a lot of Instagram feeds, like people are putting this song over their ski edits or whatever. Not they're necessarily like pro skiers, but like I think I
Okay.
saw it through with like Ski Magazine. I think Powder used it like on their Instagram feed. So it's really kind of funny that maybe it had the same impression on everyone else that like it did on
Okay.
me. But
Well, now I'm
yeah,
yeah. I did
yeah,
that. I did see a snowboard movie that's called Sounds of Japan. Oh my gosh. It's like a short
okay.
7-minute movie, but the entire soundtrack was made from sounds recorded in Japan. It's like there was a score composed for this movie. You'd love it.
Apparently that is becoming the trend this season, which is very interesting. I haven't seen any of these, but I need to. So
Love to see the
um,
creativity. Keep it coming.
yeah, especially live, combining live scores or with ski movie. I mean, what more could I ask for?
Yeah,
So that's
that's
like
right up,
two of my favorite things.
that's right up your alley.
Yeah, for
How was
sure.
your tour? How was the tour with the new Mastersounds?
Tour was great. We did the whole West Coast, 3 nights in Seattle. We were in Fremont in an Airbnb, and it was so cool. Like that little area was awesome. I'd never been over there before. I really appreciated the vibe in Seattle. It was really awesome.
Amazing.
All right. Looks like we got Mike. Today we are joined by Mike Nathan, our first guest on the pod. Mike is the sustainability manager at Arapahoe Basin in Colorado. Mike, welcome to our podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
First, will you just tell us a little bit about you and how you got to doing this job? Like, where you from? What was your route to getting to where you're at?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess to start it off, I feel incredibly lucky that I get to work in the ski industry, work at a ski resort, especially one that's as cool as a basin is. I don't know if either of you guys have skied here much before, but we can get into the skiing nerd stuff later, I guess. But I'm from Massachusetts. I grew up. Not really super exposed to winter sports. Neither of my parents did it very much. Um, I learned to snowboard when I was like 10 at the golf course around, in the neighborhood. And, um, that was like late 90s, really fell in love just with like not only playing outside and, bombing down a hill, but right around that time, movies like Out Cold were coming out. That was like, I kind of feel like the height of like at least for my age group, probably you guys too, like the height of like the movie scene. And there was sweet ski movies and snowboard movies every year. Um, and it was just awesome. So I was, fully hooked. I got a part-time job at a tiny little ski area called Otis Ridge in the Berkshires of Western Massachusetts, teaching snowboard lessons during high school. Loved that even more, got even more, behind the scenes and insider sort of knowledge of how a ski area is run and what it's like to be a ski bum, even in Western Mass, where you can only be a ski bum for, 30 or so days a year. Um, but then, that I was like, all right, cool. What's the next step? So then I went to school in Vermont, snowboarded 100 days a year there all through college. And then, in school, I studied environmental science because I also am just a science nerd and love being outside. I pretty much went through the course catalog and picked anyone that had like the 5-hour lab in the woods, like snowshoeing around Vermont, So I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Um, just whatever got me into cool places. And again, going to school in Vermont let me snowboard a heck of a lot. Um, Graduated, with my degree. Couldn't really find much for work using it. So I figured I'd put life on hold and just go be a real ski bum in Colorado for a year. That was the plan, at least. Landed here at A Basin the winter of 2010-11 as a lift operator. Um, had an amazing year. That was the second snowiest winter A Basin's ever had. We're coming up on 80 years of operation. So needless to say, I was even more hooked on dedicating my life to playing in the snow. Um, Unfortunately, the second year of being a lift op was one of our least snowy ever. So I was like, well, I know how awesome it can be. I'm coming back after year one. And I was like, well, I'm not going to leave on such a downer note after year two. So then the third year I was a lift op, we were very new to the sustainability world at that point, and we were creating a sustainability coordinator position at that time. And I guess word got out that that's what my degree was in, and I hadn't pissed anybody off around here yet. So it was a perfect fit. I took that job. Yeah, but I guess that was probably like 2013. And since then, I've just tried to grow the role, grow our position, grow our program, and really wiggle my way into every aspect of our operation here at A Basin so that we can have the bigger and broader impacts that we need to, to do the work that we need to do. Um, you know, Ensuring that winters are snowy and cold and fun, not only in Colorado and at A Basin where, I'm sitting here just shy of 11,000 feet, but at, Franconia Golf Course in Springfield, Mass, which is probably 80 feet above sea level, and gets more wintertime rain than anything. So
Yeah.
that's how I got here. I'm just a diehard snowboarder. Since living here, I've gotten into mountain biking and rafting, as we all do. Um, so yeah, living in the West, working in the outdoor industry is a dream. as you both know well.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, thanks. That is super cool. Okay, how do you feel about Name That Tune? Are you a music guy?
Big music guy. I play in a mediocre at best psychedelic rock band here in Summit County. Big plug for
No.
Hobo Village. Go
Oh,
check us
you're in
out.
Hobo Village? I didn't know
I
that.
am. Oh
Okay.
God, you've seen us or heard us.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Big music guy. If it's classic rock or 90s hip hop, I'm in.
Okay.
Anything newer than like 2010, I'm gonna be in trouble.
Okay.
So we would
You're in luck. You are in luck. Okay, we were gonna do. Helena was supposed to be here. She couldn't make it
She's
today
sick.
because she's sick. Helena is a sustainability specialist that works with Mike. But so now, unfortunately for you, Mike, you have to go up against Malone, who is also a music guy. So if you're willing to, I have 3 songs. I'm gonna play as much as I need to until you guys can guess. Are you ready and willing to jump in here?
Yeah, is this like a fastest to the buzzer kind of deal? What do I do?
Yeah. You just have to say the name of the song and the artist if you can.
Got it.
All right, ready?
Got it. Grateful Dead trucking.
Sorry, that was
Yep.
there. We heard that you have kind of a deal with Grateful Dead there, so
Yeah, you should have named. Did you pick a live version? Did you tell us exactly what show that was played at? Who the taper was or what?
Could you do that? Are you one of those guys that knows every show?
No.
No. It alone might be. Okay.
I could probably do it with the Barton Hall show, like especially the intro to the Scarlet Fire, but
Clearly, we're cut from the same cloth here. It's going to be that fun.
sounds like it, Mike.
Okay. I think yeah, I'm going to go with the next one.
Okay.
That would be Barracuda by Heart.
Yes.
Good job.
That's like there was a really good old snowboard. I think it wasn't Barrett Christie, it was Victoria Jalouse. Do you remember that one with
Oh
Barracuda?
yeah.
So sick. Anyways, okay, last one. Ready? Go.
Stop talking heads. um
Is this once in a lifetime?
Once in a life, yes. Nice.
Amazing. Amazing.
Job. Well done, Mike. Nice.
We'll call that a tie. You would have had that one too.
Good matchup. You guys jinxed each other on the talking heads part, but you got the song, Mike. Nice work. That was fun. I was reading a profile last night of Talking Heads guy. What's his name?
David Byrne.
Yes, and they said that. Anyways, it was talking about that song. It was a really cool article. So, anyways, I had David Byrne on the mind. But great job. And now we can move into some sustainability stuff.
If we must.
well, it's we try and mix the fun, with the sustainability, so it'll hopefully become more enticing to people. And I feel like that's something you guys have tried to do at A Basin, especially with your Sustainability Sunday segments and whatnot. And feel free to discuss that, but I thought we would lead with the goal, which was supposed to be this year, of Arapahoe Basin reaching carbon neutrality in 2025. But you guys exceeded that. But why don't we start at the beginning and tell us how that came to be and how that started? I believe you started several years ago, right? With the idea?
We did, yeah. So, man, I'll try to keep it short, but we have been active on the sustainability front at A Basin for a long time. Ourselves, Aspen Ski Company, Vail Resorts, a few other of the big kind of movers and shakers in the industry back in the very early 2000s, along with the National Ski Areas Association, set up the Sustainable Slopes Charter, which essentially was the first time the industry had kind of publicly acknowledged climate change and the very obviously frontline impacts that ski areas feel from that. So And even before that, A Basin has a long ethic of being good environmental stewards. Um, when the ski area opened in the 40s, we were cutting trees. There was an on-site sawmill that was turning that wood into lumber, which became the first lodge. So concepts of like circularity and minimizing our impacts and having a very light touch on the land has always been a core value here. But yeah, 20 or 25 years ago, we formalized that with the Sustainable Slopes Charter. And in the years basically between then and 2017-18, when we established our goals, we really had just been kind of very scattershot, doing everything we could, really peppering sustainability into every aspect of our operations and like all the touch points with staff and guests that we could come up with. But we had no real top-down strategy that would either guide someone like myself or, my predecessor, Shaw, who is the one who really built this program from the ground up and gave me my first job. We never had any top-down direction as to like what we should prioritize, and even like what does the company and our guests and our industry want from us. We would get cold called from a recycling company, and then we'd be like, let's do this recycling weird new stream of waste diversion. There'd be some random wind turbine guy. We'd be like, let's pilot a wind turbine project. It was all over the map, and it was just us pretty much managing up, begging our leadership here to empower us to pursue this stuff. So yeah, 2017-18, again, we've made some great progress. We'd really established, I think, a reputation of doing the right thing. But we needed more formality. So we created our 7 goals strategic plan, which was meant to dovetail nicely with our master development plan, which is something that pretty much every ski area that operates on Forest Service land, which in the West is most of us, needs to have. It's more or less a 10-ish year, kind of like long-term planning document that is submitted to the Forest Service. They accept it because it, aligns with the mission of the forest, land of many uses, all that fun stuff. Doesn't necessarily highlight specific projects, but again, it identifies the long-term direction of the company that's using one of these Forest Service special use permits. So we created a sustainability, more or less, master development plan to go with it. And in that plan, we highlighted carbon neutrality as really the main goal. At that time, that was also, again, the bigger players in the industry, Vail Resorts and Aspen, had set out pretty major goals. Very prominent ski towns like Park City, Aspen, were also setting like municipal goals. The Paris Accord was in its infancy. So we wanted to align with all of that, but we also knew that being a basin, being kind of the crazy, kooky, up the hill cousin that we are, knowing that we are smaller, but being close to Denver, having the long season, having the really awesome terrain, we've got great resources, even though we're a smaller ski area. We thought we could just be faster than most of the goals out there. A lot of the goals you hear are 2030 or 2050 or whatever. And we thought those are great. And those also guide really impactful work. But we thought if any company could be faster to it, it would be a company like us. So we wanted an ambitious goal. So we picked carbon neutral by 2025. A number of other goals worked in to support that. 100% renewable electricity being kind of the main one. That's where about 2/3 of our emissions typically come from. And that's fairly common across the ski area operations. That electricity is the biggest emissions generator.
And how did you guys, solve that being at the top of the pass there?
Yeah, good question. We are at the dead end of our utility power line. So we've, again, just like our whole program throughout its history, we came at it from every angle. We committed to installing on-site solar anytime we built a new building or did a new roof, even though our roofs, frankly, are just really small. You can't power a ski area off like the back of your garage. But we know that even though we have small roofs, we have tons and tons of visitors. And if people could show up at the basin and get out of their car and see working solar panels in the building right next to me here at 10,800 feet, or even more so at the summit where we've got panels at just shy of 13,000 feet. If we could do it here, anybody could do it anywhere. So we leaned into that. We leaned into working with our utility to find big, subscription programs to buy renewables. And also we were lucky that there are a number of programs that sort of allow you to buy renewables at no cost. There's like a fee credit kind of balance that comes out on your energy bills.
Right.
People like us can do that at home too, if you're so inclined. A lot of utilities around the country make that available to their customers. But we essentially were inching closer and closer to 100% renewable. Xcel Energy, our electricity provider, also has really ambitious goals, and they were moving much faster towards those goals than they expected. So basically, we got to 100% renewable electricity about 2 years ago at this point. And again, acknowledging that was the vast majority of our ski area's emissions, at least the ones that we felt confident we could track regularly and accurately. We still admittedly do not track all of our like guest travel, which we know in the ski industry is perhaps the biggest actual climate change driver, is
Right.
tailpipe emissions or flights from, people coming skiing from around the world.
What about you do have several electric chargers. What is it, about 10 stations or so?
That's right. Yep. So again, we're nibbling around the corners and really
Right.
trying to make meaningful impacts to what we can control here at the ski area, which again is a smaller footprint than even our neighbors down the hill.
Yes.
But at the same time as doing those small, meaningful, and very, I guess, visible things here at the mountain, we also, we're working behind the scenes with Xcel, with our local communities who also have these similar goals. And basically, when we got to 100% renewable, and we checked the box on 2/3 of our pie chart, what remained is basically emissions from, for us, mostly burning diesel fuel, but it's scope 1 emissions from burning petroleum-based fuels.
And that's from the
snowcats.
Snowcats. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's building uses. We have some small, like a number of the lift shacks have propane heaters, for one example.
Right.
But
Right.
for us, that slice was small enough, and we felt like there were at least, if not right there, viable and ready for us 2 years ago, near enough around the corner on the horizon, new technologies that would have let us address those emissions. We decided to pursue carbon offsets for that small remainder. Again, about 30% of our overall emissions. That said, we don't love using carbon offsets as a solution because that, frankly, it's just too easy to kick the can and have it be someone else's problem. And essentially, in many people's view, and I think it's accurate, give yourself carte blanche to just keep on polluting while you just pay to clean up some other corner of the world. So we were really, really conscious of all those sort of downsides to carbon offsets. But again, we wanted to motivate ourselves to keep making progress. We wanted to do a little bit of good by those remaining emissions while we still create them. So we looked for partners and were really targeted in the projects that we support through those carbon offsets and made sure that they were all US based. Oftentimes they were Colorado based when we could find them. They were truly additional, meaning it's not some forest management plan that was already happening and somebody is just going to claim like not cutting down trees and that's a carbon net good. We wanted these to be new projects that actually removed carbon from the atmosphere or prevented it from being generated in the first place. So about 2 years ago, we got our renewable electricity lined up, and then we were able to find a number of these authentic and meaningful carbon projects that often also really support outdoor rec and like the A Basin vibe, which, Malone, if you're skiing here a lot, we always talk about the vibe.
For sure.
So we wanted things to align with our vibe and basically be projects we would do here at A Basin if we had that much forest to protect or had that much, landfill gas to recapture or whatever. And through both of those bigger avenues, we met our carbon goal a little bit ahead of time, as you implied there.
Yeah, 2 years. That's impressive.
Seems like you guys are kind of competitive over there. You're like the first to open, you're the first to get to racing into the carbon neutrality. It's a theme. It's a theme I'm getting.
Yeah, it's also sweet being starting with an A because in any list, we're like the first ski area listed. So
There you go.
we're
Yeah.
huge
A
on
basin.
advocacy too. And I'm always signing on to big letters, for electeds in Washington, and it's us and it's Nestle and Johnson and huge companies.
Yeah.
But we're always right at the top of the list because
Yep.
A.
It's not C basin or B basin, it's A basin.
A plus basin.
Can I ask about, it's been exactly a year, November 2024, since you got acquired by Altera. Can I ask how it's been? First full year.
Yeah, you can absolutely ask. And I don't have to respond. No, just kidding. It's been great. I mean, sure, in a vacuum, I'm sure every ski area operator out there and every staff guy would love to work for an independent company forever. I mean, if any industry, if you can work for a mom and pop place, that's probably what you want, right? But um it's been great. They've had a very light touch, frankly, on pretty much the entire operation. Um, I don't know this directly, but clearly they thought there was value in A Basin and they wanted to add us to the portfolio for a reason. They must have thought something was going right around here. So it has not felt like they wanted to come in and rock the boat and change things. Uh, they've really have not done that. I mean, obviously, we now have some more support and some more resources and more like centralized services. Our accounting software, our HR software has been changed. All of that's been a learning curve, but I think ultimately will help us do better business. Um, from the sustainability angle, it's been great because, they're a new company. They've only been around since I want to say 2019. Um, all of the ski areas they own, of course, have been at it forever and are amazing at what we all do. Um, but being a new company, I think they've been trying to find their footing and find their place in sustainability and how to be an outspoken player in climate action. Um, and I think they've been very conscious about not getting in front of their skis for the cliche pun of the day for now. I think they've kind of slow played it. They have not come out with any crazy top down like you at the ski areas must do X, Y, and Z to meet our like corporate sustainability goals. And then, with me and our program directly at A Basin, they've just continued to feature us and highlight us and use us as kind of a leader within the group of sustainability practitioners that work for the resorts under Altera. Um, I've been introduced to a whole new slew of people that, now I get to work with, if not every day, every couple of weeks on these much bigger and broader and nationwide issues. It's not just A Basin talking about the impacts of climate change in our little corner of Colorado anymore. Um, and then also we are definitely seeing that sort of added like might of a bigger entity. It used to be A Basin would ask of a supplier to, I don't know, not send us our mittens in plastic bags, right? And they're like, ah, sure, whatever. You buy 100, we don't really care. um, Now, when Altera and all 19 resorts and all of the retail stores that represents ask the same thing, these companies can say, oh, that's a bit more of an impact to our business and something we would take seriously. So in that sense, we definitely are seeing a lot more opportunity for bigger impact. And that's been really cool.
That's awesome. Do you have anything coming up this season that you're working on?
We're always working on a lot. The main things at the basin, I always think, and I think what makes us different from all the ski areas that do this, because truly nowadays, pretty much every ski area is acknowledging climate change, working to limit their impacts. Most have somebody like me. They might wear other hats too, but they have people on site that are looking after this. But something that we really focus on is making sure that it is both top down and bottom up all the time. So, Helena, one of her primary roles at the ski area is just constantly fostering the culture of sustainability that we've created amongst our staff. which of course trickles right down to our guests. So, staff engagement around things like transportation, which on the Front Range of Colorado is a huge issue for ski areas and for all the ski towns and people that are adjacent to I-70. It's no different in the Tahoe area. It's really no different anywhere in the ski world. So we have some cool new employee carpooling programs we're going to roll out, and new partners we're working with. We are always leaning into our waste reduction initiatives, which the more I've worked in sustainability, I've found very interesting that, whether it's a ski area or another company or a town, if you look at your like emissions pie chart, solid waste to the landfill is like the skinniest slice. But it's usually the first thing we all do as far as climate action goes. It's usually the first thing that as people we understand to be doing the right thing, so to speak. You don't have to be a climate scientist. You don't have to understand the atmosphere or renewable energy or the grid to know throwing less stuff away is better. And
Everybody
also,
gets trash. Trash is trash. Get it.
exactly. And also, everybody deals with it.
Yeah.
Whether you are a diehard skier or a polyhead, like we call them, and you almost never even interact with certain areas of our business, you still probably have a crushed beer can you're going to try to get rid of at the end of the day. Or if you're like a family of 6 and you're buying everybody chicken tenders, like you're going to throw away your lunch waste. So all of our staff and all of our guests interact with waste. So we really tried to have that be a good touch point and frankly, an intro to these other initiatives that we have at the mountain. And then we have so many, but the only other one I'll mention because it's cool is we are working with Steamboat, who is another of our new Altera brothers and sisters, on a renewable diesel pilot. So renewable diesel is an alternative low carbon fuel. It performs just like regular diesel fuel, which again is our biggest remaining emission source. It's also one of the things that ski areas and really any rural business that has heavy equipment obviously relies on. And as the world transitions to EVs, big heavy diesel equipment are often kind of the last pieces to get upgraded. There are electric snowcats out there, but they all have very short battery lives, which just does not play well with the way we grew them and the way our fleet kind of works. So
what is the battery life? I'm just curious on an electric cat.
Well, I'm sure they're all different. I'm sure
Okay.
there's a lot of factors, but Prenoth, which is who supplies us with our snowcats, they've got one called the E-Husky, and it's only got about a 3 or a 4 hour battery life.
Oh, wow.
Which frankly would be perfect for like a cross-country ski area. Right. Or if you're a bigger resort and you have like terrain-based learning or a small terrain park somewhere, or if you just have a big enough fleet that like one cat can be dedicated to hauling food and stuff up and down the hill to your restaurants, that would work great. We're so small. We literally have like 6 snowcats. 3 of them or 4 of them are out on the hill at any given time, and they all have to do everything. They haul kegs of beer to the Black Mountain Lodge. They winch cat in Zuma Bowl. They push that massive ramp so you can get up to the East Wall Traverse and all the hiking terrain. And then they drive down the highway a mile when an avalanche closes Loveland Pass.
Yeah. With Professor.
Exactly. So because that electric option just isn't viable yet, we really still want to be making progress. Again, we don't want to just keep buying carbon offsets. So renewable diesel, it's a pretty tried and true fuel. Actually, it's widely used in California and elsewhere on the West Coast. California in particular, because you're lucky to have those low carbon fuel standards and state policies that really force the hand of fuel providers and of businesses who use that fuel. But with anything, we run a business at 11,000 feet. Our groomers have all been working here since the 70s. Change is hard. People are scared of new technology. So this fall, along with Steamboat, we're testing this new fuel, making sure it performs well as it is advertised to, making sure it doesn't freeze up in cold temps, which is a thing that diesel fuel can do. And yeah, we actually just finished up the batch of test fuel that we had. We burned through the last of it last week. We did get through some really cold nights, 2 nights in a row that were below zero at the beginning of this month. So we're hoping that we can show that it's viable. And again, like same with those solar panels at the summit, We think if we can show that a basin can do this with our very small operation, with our extra remote nature, just being even that much further away from the core of Summit County down the hill here. Um, Frankly, with a vehicle maintenance shop that like has holes in the walls and the ceiling leaks, if we can do it, Speedboat can definitely do it, and everybody else in the world can do it too. So we're really excited to hopefully get some momentum behind that and get more ski areas in Colorado pushing for that fuel.
That's awesome. Okay, I have a burning question that I have to ask you, and it's going to sound really stupid to start with, but bear with me because my question is why? Like, why do all this stuff? And obviously, it's obvious to all of us. Thing, just do it. But I guess from a financial standpoint, obviously, there's like a bottom line, and it's a business. And so, how does it help your business to do all these sustainability efforts? And if so, why isn't everyone doing it? Like basically, yeah, could you talk about the financial and business side of the sustainability efforts that you're doing?
Yeah, totally. Well, yeah, I mean, I think so. Every project that I've been interacting with here in my time in the role I'm in, has, yeah, like you said, I've had to get approval from my bosses or from the accounting team, or nowadays through the Altera budgeting process. And yeah, nothing comes for free. So it's really been about just trying to change the frame of reference that we look at these things, have a little bit of a longer term view. Um, Although that said, a lot of energy efficiency and like electrical upgrade type things have really fast paybacks. Like if you're a ski area and you've done nothing with sustainability, if you just upgrade your light bulbs to LEDs, you'll save, you know, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars uh, by the year, like one and a half. So especially in the early days of our program, we were really conscious of that, is like trying to pitch projects that had a good ROI that actually could save us money, because nobody was in it for the charity, frankly. As our programs developed, as other ski areas and other businesses and other industries have recognized the importance of this, and frankly, as our guests and customers almost demand it, I don't think we have to make that argument as strongly. We still can't just like let money fly out the window, but um, there's much more, I think, demand out there for companies to be acting responsibly. And this is just one really tangible way to do it. So, again, in the ski industry, where if you look at stats over the last however many years, the overall number of skiers in the US is not wildly increasing. So ski areas individually are often just competing over growing their slice of the same pie. So, if we think people are aligned with businesses that do responsible things, we want to be that business, so they'll come ski here rather than ski area X. Um, so those are sort of some of the ways that we can, I guess, justify, if not the added cost, certainly the added effort, because nothing, in addition to not being free, it's pretty hard to even just recycle or compost, from the top of the mountain and haul it out with a snowcat, right? So
Yeah.
you need a ton of buy-in and help from all over your staff and from everybody here. Um, but I mean, taking a step back from that, the real why, I think, is in a lot of ways, it's super obvious. I mean, we're ski areas. We need snow. Um, and even as ski areas recognize that there's less of that and we lean into year-round business and summertime activities, we need pleasant and predictable weather. Um, and we need beautiful and healthy natural spaces. Our natural environment here at A Basin is our number one asset, closely followed probably by our staff, depending on who you ask. If it was HR on this call, they'd say staff for sure. But the bottom line is nobody wants to come to A Basin if it wasn't for sweet skiing, good snow, amazing views, right? In the summer, it's an escape from the heat of the city. We're up so high, it's cool. Um, if none of those things exist, then we don't have a product to sell. Um, so that's a really easy concept to understand. It's much harder to act upon when really you can't see the net good or bad of your behavior for 10 or 50 or 100 years. right?
A
But
lot of companies aren't thinking that far out. They're just thinking about how can we make money for the next 5 or 10 years. They're not thinking, okay, in 20 years, is our business model going to continue if we keep this up? So it's nice to hear that A, sustainability has been good for business, or at least not bad for business. And B, that, yeah, you're thinking ahead.
it's hard to put a lot of emphasis on like survey results too. People who respond to surveys are pretty self-selecting. It's the same with like political polling, right? I don't know if you could trust it anymore. But we do ask people when they have a day at the basin, once they leave, they get a follow-up email about how great your day was. And in those surveys, there's a question about sustainability. I don't remember exactly how we phrase it, but something along the lines of, were you aware of our sustainability program and our initiatives? And did it have any impact in your deciding to come to the basin for your visit? And overwhelmingly, those are yeses, and we get positive scores on those questions that people know about it and that people think it made a difference in their, again, consumer choices, I guess.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I mean, without snow, no one's coming, right? Maybe in the summer, but in the winter, obviously, like you said, yeah, the wine, we need snow. And right now, I mean, especially the start of this season, which has been historically, I think, low tide, if not the lowest snowpack so far this late. We still haven't seen snow in Denver, which we're not to the latest point there yet, but it's been pretty slim. And if it weren't for snowmaking, we probably wouldn't be skiing the past few weeks, right, Mike? So I guess my question is, how does the snowmaking impact the sustainability efforts? And is snowmaking sustainable? Can we continue operating like this as our snowpack years seem to get less and less?
Totally. Well, boy, I've got two answers to that. I mean, one is what I'll start with. Now I'll start with the negative, and then I'll go to the positive. For me, individually, and again, I'm like a bleeding heart environmentalist, and you know, mediocre musician and all that too. But I don't know. Like, I think skiing inherently needs to happen in wintry places, right? This whole conversation has come up around the Olympics recently, and where the Winter Olympics is hosted and things like that. I think you could draw similar analogies to like golf. Like, why are there golf courses in Arizona? Um, and it would be totally fair for people to say the same of ski areas in Western Massachusetts or in the Southeast or anywhere else in the world where there is not inherently good snow. Um, Now, the company guy hat coming on that I would say, and what I do truly also believe is you can make snowmaking sustainable within the right context. And for us at the basin, something I always come back to is uh, snowmaking being one example, but anything that we do that allows the basin to be a viable business, allows us to be successful, allows us to employ the few hundred people who come out here every year and work a seasonal job that then support all the businesses in Summit County, all of the related economic benefits there. If the basin is not successful, then they're not going to allow me the freedom to lean into our sustainability program well. And if people like me can't lean into a sustainability program well, then how are we going to make those impacts big enough and broad enough in the world to really like save the world, for lack of a better word? You know what I mean? Um, So snowmaking allows us to do that. Allows us to start the season when we do. It allows us to have a little bit of predictability, when guests want to be here around the Christmas holiday. Um, so that's, I guess, my spiel about snowmaking as part of our business model. At the basin, snowmaking is very new. We've only been making snow here since I think 2003, which is much more recent than pretty much all the other Colorado resorts, at least. In Colorado, snowmaking is, man, I wish I had this number. I should have looked it up because I knew you were going to ask me this. It's a very small percentage of the amount of water in the Colorado River Basin is withdrawn for snowmaking. A much bigger usage is irrigation, which mostly is for agriculture. which obviously is a very valid use of water. But so we pull very little out of our creeks and streams that ultimately all feed into the Colorado. What we do pull out is considered to be non-consumptive in that very little of it is lost to the environment. If you think about the way snowmaking works, and not to go too deep, but here at the basin, we have a creek that runs through the property, pull the water out of the creek, put it through our system. It turns into snow. It sits on the hill. In the spring, it melts right back into that same watershed. So in a lot of ways, it's sort of like a time release reservoir. We only lose about 15% of that water to evaporation and sublimation and other stuff that would make it consumptive. Watering your lawn, on the other hand, is considered consumptive. More than 60% of that water is lost to the environment because you're either watering the sidewalk or it's vaporized and floats away. So painting that picture, I think, helps remind people that it is not inherently water intensive, as long as you're conscious of where you pull the water from and when you do it, which we have very strict guidelines that keep healthy conditions in our stream here. The real impacts, especially at A Basin from snowmaking, are the electricity needed to blow snow. And lucky for us, or thanks to hard work, but 100% renewable electricity. So we think at A Basin, we're hyper vigilant and mindful of the water that we're pulling from our creek, which is North Fork of the Snake River, flows into the Blue, flows into the Colorado. And we're very conscious about energy efficiency and then sourcing that energy from renewables. And industry-wide, that is definitely the trend. As bigger snowmaking systems at bigger resorts move to like full automation, that saves tons of wasted water and energy because you're not making, you could picture a big resort, right? And if it's ideal snowmaking at the summit, it might not be at the base area. And if you can ramp up and down your system to just make snow when and where it's going to be good snow, you can save a lot of waste that way. And then I guess the last thing I'd say, kind of back to that initial point about snowmaking, is, I mean, as an industry and as a way of life, we just need people to be into skiing and riding. Again, so they'll come to places like A Basin or go to Otis Ridge, where I grew up riding, and eventually become the ski bum environmental nerds that I am that are doing this work. So long-winded roundabout way of saying yes and no.
Snowmaking is the gateway in a little bit. It's like a little bit of a necessary. It has to happen. There's like environmental economics where there's a line where you have to use a little bit to make these other gains on the back end.
Totally. I mean, from like, at the ethereal level, like, is anything we do sustainable? No, but we're not all just going to like live in a dark cave for our lives, right?
Humans have to keep going. So yeah, exactly.
I think we came from there at some point, but
yeah, I mean, it was probably sweet, but
yeah, or not.
It was probably, some of it was probably sweet, some of it was probably less sweet. Can you talk a little bit about your community efforts? I know you have a lot of local partners and community efforts you're working on at A Basin, and also talking about the coalition you mentioned a little bit with your other Alterra partners, but also the Mountain Towns 2030.
Yeah, definitely. Again, back to that A Basin vibe thing, we're definitely known for being like the locals mountain and for being a very authentic and meaningful community partner. Not just environmentally. I mean, we work with the food banks. We work with the Summit Foundation, which is kind of a bigger catch-all for the staggering number of nonprofits that are based in Summit County. I think we have probably more profits per capita than anywhere else. But we think keeping that really strong and real connection with our community is very important to being able to accomplish any of our goals. It's really clear with sustainability, where A Basin is our ski area. We got our 1,400 acres. We have our boundary ropes. But if someone just outside that boundary is a bad actor, we are going to feel those effects. Same could be said for like the community goals in Summit County. We have a climate action plan here with carbon and renewable goals in itself. Us being one of the bigger businesses, bigger employers, bigger user of all those resources. We need to be really aligned with all of that work to make their goals possible too. But we have very direct ties with our local conservation nonprofit, High Country Conservation Center. I was the chair of their board for a couple years, and we've always had a representative on the board of directors there. We work with more broadly, we work with the NSAA and some other bigger industry groups on advocacy. And a lot of that does start at the local level. And I think that's the best place to start. We, of course, want our voice heard in DC, and we make it heard there as often as we can. But I think you can really get caught up in I don't know, greenwashing, for lack of any other better word, if you're not doing meaningful things locally too. So we always ground ourselves in that. And also, I think our community recognizes that. And most of the time they come to our back. Frankly, with your last question or two ago, Ingrid, about the Altera transition, it could be pretty easy for everybody to just want to lump a bunch of hate on us and Altera for, the locals mountain getting scooped up by the big corporation thing. But as much as that narrative did happen, particularly online, where, we can acknowledge how how much of reality that reflects or not, there was an equal narrative of people that kept saying, like, the people at A Basin are doing it right. Al, our president and COO, we trust him. He's going to do it right. He's not going to let them screw this up. And that sort of narrative comes from the fact that they see us at town council meetings and at the free dinners, at the Elks Lodge, and all of those other places. So it's really important. Regarding mountain towns, that has become absolutely one of the highlights of my year. Their Climate Solutions Summit was just in Breckenridge this past year. I believe it was the 4th or the 5th one. That also came out of that same sort of timeline. When we set our goals, that was when Park City and Aspen were setting their carbon goals, around 2030, as the name would imply. And again, they just really want to bring together everybody who's doing this work. So it's so easy for all of us, even in an area or an arena like sustainability, to still be very siloed. Like the ski areas kind of work together, although we're obviously highly competitive, but we do come together on sustainability. But it'd be pretty easy for the ski areas to be off doing one thing and have no idea what, like, the town of Breckenridge is doing, or the town of Dillon, where I live. And then, so Mountain Towns does a great job of bringing private business and ski areas, the municipalities, elected officials, the nonprofits and NGOs that work in all these spaces together to just have a real critical mass of action and of sharing of best practices, I think. And yeah, that conference for me has definitely become one of the most, like, relevant couple days of my year. Getting to share a lot of what we do. This year, I think the conference had over 500 people, but there was close to 100 from ski areas, about 60 of which were, like, sustainability people like me. We welcomed all of them to the basin for a welcome day, like a pre-arrival event, which was great because, a lot of those folks are new to these roles, or the role is brand new to their company, or they're a young person who's just frankly never traveled for a conference before. And it's awesome to just, like, get a room together where we can all be like, oh, there's all the bearded flannel wearers and people I'm going to be friends with. And it's less scary, and I think it opens up the door for those people to have really impactful and meaningful times at that summit. And there's been great work that's come out of it. We actually, the renewable diesel pilot, last year the summit was in Jackson, and there was a presentation from a fuel provider, from this big bearded kind of redneck guy he's got a huge truck that spits out black smoke, and he does not care about sustainability. He loves diesel engines, and he gave a great presentation. And again, me and Helen and I were both like, if this guy can just, like, say that to our vehicle mechanics and to our groomers, like, our job is done here. And so that's what started that idea for us to test that fuel.
That's awesome.
That's super cool.
Yeah, very cool. So beyond the renewable diesel, what does the future hold? Future goals, plans, to keep A Basin at the forefront of a leader in sustainability.
Yeah, looking forward is obviously a big part of what we do. we started this conversation talking about how we have in some ways accomplished some of these goals we've set out for ourselves. Um, whether or not we got there early or not, we were going to have to come up with new goals this year anyway. So we're in the process of doing that now. I think without knowing exactly what they're going to be quite yet, generally speaking, they are going to really focus in on kind of the two main buckets that I think I already work in, which is like targeted, innovative, unique, cool stuff here at the ski area, things like renewable diesel, things like electrifying our kitchen equipment and our other sort of building energy uses. Again, moving away from anything that's not electricity because our electricity is now renewable. Um, and equally, if not more important than that, it's outreach and advocacy. We know, again, like A Basin's emissions and even Altera's emissions in the ski industries collectively are just a drop in the bucket when it comes to global climate change. Um, but we have such recognizable brands. We have incredibly talented like marketing teams that can do a great job of packaging me up and making me sound less like an idiot and sending me to DC and putting my boss in DC with a suit and a tie on and an A Basin flat brim. Um, we're incredibly good messengers for the action that we need to see more broadly in society and in policy making. So that's a space where we really are leaning in heavily, which has also been a really cool opportunity for me and for Helena and for Tony, my boss, who's gotten the chance to go meet with elected officials, have meetings across the aisle, have at times quite awkward conversations with people who may not be the bleeding heart environmentalists that we are. But they recognize the importance of rural economies and jobs and water. So, back to what our new goals will be, it'll definitely be something ambitious. It'll definitely be something that keeps me up at night.
Okay.
But it's going to be fun, and I'm still going to get to wear my snowboard boots for most of the days where I'm working towards it. So
Can't beat that. Well, we'll have to have a follow up once you get your goals set. I think maybe we should leave it there so we can do a part two because this has been super interesting and fun.
Yeah, okay, we're running out of time, but I want to ask you
Yeah.
really quick. So, this is a two-part question. The first part is what can all of us as skiers and snowboarders do? What's one action we can do this winter to help make a difference? And the other one is what is one action that Malone and I and anyone listening can do this week? Because we're going to challenge ourselves to do one action a week. And we'd love to hear what your action would be to challenge us for this week that we can do to do just like our own little drop in the bucket.
all right. Well, as usual, you could go a lot of different directions here. I'll start with the broader one for our skiing and riding guests this season and beyond. And again, I guess I'll give you two answers for your one question, but I think one very big one is educate yourself and get involved in the policy making world. That could just very simply be voting for your next mayor or our next president or anything in between. But if you care about the outdoors and you think climate change is real and you think there are things we could do differently, speak up. Simply as that. And then I think more tangibly, and I guess I'll just use this to plug, an A Basin initiative, but skiers and riders typically drive solo to the ski area. I would encourage everyone listening to look into whatever favorite ski area, whatever your favorite ski area is, what they have for options for transportation, whether that's a free bus, which we have in Summit County that services A Basin and all the ski areas here in the county. And it's a free bus. No free bus is perfect. There's always going to be a few blocks between your house and the bus stop. But if and when you can, hop on the bus or just carpool with even just one other person. Not only climate related in those tailpipe emissions, but again, if you're listening on the Front Range and you come up I-70 every weekend, or you get here for the weekend and then you need to go between Silverthorne and Breckenridge, we don't need as many cars in Summit County or in any ski town as we currently have. So I think that's one thing that you could all do to help us meet our goals, especially for coming to A Basin. For you two this week, again, Same. I know
Okay.
I know there were some elections that just happened. We'll have to wait a few more months for the next big round of those. Um, Carpooling and public transit. Next time you guys go skiing and riding, love to see you do that. But it is Thanksgiving coming up next week, so maybe we could talk like food waste or being mindful of where you are sourcing your Thanksgiving dinner from. Um,
Yeah.
Again, not only do you have the opportunity to like whittle away a little bit of the emissions of, and I do still eat meat myself, but of only having meat on your plate, right? There's so many great lower carbon, typically less meat intensive diets. You can have great veggie options for Thanksgiving. Um, we compost like crazy here at the basin and at my house down here in Summit County, but any leftovers, which you inevitably are going to have, get creative, find some sweet. What did I just see? It was leftover turkey, a leftover turkey ramen recipe that
Oh,
looked amazing. So making
Awesome.
sure you're just eating all the food from next week's big feast.
Okay, I think
you,
that's something to do. Okay, so eat more
Eat
food.
it all.
That's all right. Thank you so much. Really awesome to have you. Really appreciate what you're doing and taking the time to talk with us.
Ingrid, if you're ever in Colorado, have you ever skied a basin?
I have not skied a basin, but Malone talks about it all the time. I think he's your biggest fan. And now that he knows you're a fan, he'll be your double biggest fan. So,
Very cool.
yeah.
I mean,
You're come skiing, and Malone, next time you're definitely come say hi. But
okay,
yeah, I
I
mean,
will.
I'm biased and I drink the A Basin Kool-Aid and I reference poly heads, but I'm pointing over here at the poly, which is like the fixed grip double. That is like what we call it the center of the universe. It's where all the north facing steep wind buff sweet skiing is.
You have to say it as wind buff for me. That's like catnip. I'll be there. Yes, I gotta go check this out. But well, we really appreciate it, Mike. Thank you so much. And tell Helena we hope she feels better.
Now we can unlock the door, get behind.